For this next assignment, I'm going to demonstrate how to grade assessments using Google Forms. Google Forms came out with a new feature that allows you to grade assessments right within the app Google Forms, which is a great feature to have. I have noticed a couple differences. I've used Flubaroo, that add-on in Google Sheets in the past. There's a couple things that I know Flubaroo can do that I haven't been able to find in Google Forms, but I'm going to go ahead and show both ways. So first thing I'm going to do is just begin a new Google form. If you haven't used the new Google Forms, I think it was updated mid last year at some time. It does look a little bit different, basically does the same thing, but I'll kind of go through and show how to do this. The first thing I do is title my form just so I know what quiz it is, just in case I have to run and get out and need to come back to it later. So I'm just going to put this as Google Classroom PD. Once you type in a title here, it's usually going to change it up here if you just click on it, and then your title will be up there. So that's what it will be labeled in your Google Drive. All right, before I type any questions into my forms, I go up here to the settings, the little gear button. I always choose for my settings to collect email addresses. And the reason I got in the habit of that is because using Flubaroo to grade assessments, this is how it takes the students' email addresses to send them their scores, how they did on the assessment. If you don't collect the email addresses, you can give an option for the students to type them in, but I always have a couple students mess up and then it won't send them their email address. So it's a lot easier if I just collect them on the front end. Limit to one response. I like to do that as well, just in case they hear other people talking about the answers afterwards, or if I want to give them the answers, you only want them to respond once, because if they respond a second time, they'll already have the answers to be able to do that. The response receipts to me is really not necessary because the quiz grading feature is going to send them their responses. Sometimes the students like to make sure that it actually submitted, so I always leave it on. If they want it to submit or to send them back their responses, then they can choose to do that. All right, then I'm going to go up here to presentation. The show progress bar, once again, not really necessary unless you're going to have multiple pages within your assessment. If you have kind of different sections over different topics, you might want to do show progress bar so they know what page they're on. And then the second thing, shuffle question order. I like to do this as long as my questions are not in order where question 3 refers back to question 2. You just want to be careful with that. So you can click those if you need to. Confirmation message, this is what shows up after they click submit. So if you have another set of instructions, now that you've submitted, you need to work on or get whatever it is you want the students to do, you can type that in this little area down here. All right, and this is a new feature, the quiz feature. Make this a quiz. So I'm going to turn this on to kind of go through what the options are here. Releasing the grade immediately after each submission. So as soon as the student clicks submit, it pops up and shows them what their score is. Later, after manual review. For this, you definitely want to make sure that it collected the email addresses, because you're going to go in after maybe the end of the day or in 2 days after everyone's taken the quiz or the assessment, and you're going to tell it, okay, now send the scores, and it has to have the email addresses so it can send the students their scores. It's kind of up to you what you prefer. Immediately is what the students always want, but it kind of just depends, I guess, what your assessment is. All right, then the last thing, respondent can see the missed question, the correct answer, and the point value. The one that that I go back and forth on are the correct answers, especially if this is the same assessment all day long. I don't want the correct answers floating around necessarily. So the missed questions, I don't care if they know which ones they miss most of the time, and I don't care if they can see what points they got, especially if I'm saying it's out of 10 points, you can earn partial credit. So they know they got part of it right, earn something on that question. So go through and click those. I'm going to go ahead and click correct answer on this one, and then save. All right, so now that you have your settings done, this is where you can actually get into your question making. So here, untitled question, you can begin. I'm just going to say, I'll just type an easy quiz. All right, what is the Bryant School District mascot? You have the options of short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, check boxes, drop down, linear scale, multiple choice grid, date, time. Multiple choice check boxes, drop downs, those are going to be the easiest to grade, especially using Flubaroo. And the short answer and paragraph are not graded within Google Forms. So if you're using the grading feature in here and you ask for short answer or paragraph, they will not grade that answer for you. It's something you'll have to go back in and hand grade later. So I'm just going to keep this one as multiple choice, and I'll type in Hornet. There's okay, so here's the mascots. Now, this is the new feature, the answer key. So you're going to click on answer key, and this is where it says choose correct answer. So now I'm going to decide, okay, I know Hornet's the correct answer. Click on that. Decide what your point value is. Maybe you want this one worth 5 points. You can type in there also if you don't want to click the up button over and over. And then answer feedback is a really neat addition to this, and I really like it. So with the answer feedback, you can tell them if they got the answer wrong, you can tell them the correct answer and maybe give an explanation, like a reminder of, remember, blah, blah, blah. This is what we talked about. The Hornet is the mascot for Bryant School District. You can even give feedback to correct answers. Sometimes I'll put the same exact feedback because reinforcement won't hurt. And then also there's a place where you can link up websites. This is really neat just to give more information. Let's say you're doing a unit on clouds and you need to, you ask the question about what type of cloud, and you want them to kind of go to a page that has more information. You can put that link here. They can click on it and then it will take them there. All right, so I'm going to save this. I didn't put any explanation. And then you just continue on making your quiz. So I can add a title here. Let's say the next section is going to be about Saline County. Oops. And then now I'm going to add a question. So this will show up kind of like a title, and then I'll add more questions below it. You can also add videos in the middle of your form and then ask questions after that. You can put a picture up if it's referring to a certain question or if you want them to answer questions about some sort of an image. You can also do add section. This is a neat feature if, like I said earlier, you have different sections to your assessment. So you can click this add section, and what it will do is this top part will all be on one page. Then the next page will be this. I forgot to say this up here. One thing I always like to do in my responses, and this is very beneficial for Flubaroo, is I always put in for the very first question, first name, change that to short answer, last name, and then I do period. And this will help me just in case I need to do some sorting. It's mainly beneficial when you have the students who are absent and their stuff shows up at the end, but you want everything sorted by class period. And then I would just type in, I don't have a first period class. Then I would just go through and do this. And you can choose not to grade certain questions. So you would not want their period to be graded because there's not a right or wrong answer for that. So you just wouldn't choose anything for your answer key. Okay, I'm going to delete this. We don't need a new section. I didn't make up any questions here. So let's delete. I can delete it here too. And delete. Okay, so we have one question quiz here. You can also go here. This is what you'll do once your students start responding, and it will show everybody's responses here. You can also open it up in a spreadsheet, and you'll want to use this spreadsheet if you decide to use Flubaroo instead of the grading feature here in Google Forms. I do always click preview so I can see what the assessment's going to look like. I even take the assessment once before my students do so I know if it's grading things correctly. So I would put Tiffany. I'll say I'm in second period and Hornet and submit. All right, then I can close out of this. Oh, view your score. I got a 5 out of 5. So I got the right question. Gives me a little check mark. I'm going to close out of this. All right, now you can see here, these are my responses. It tells me how many students got which number correct, class periods. So it's got some good information here. All right, I'm going to do a second video for Flubaroo. So if you are interested in grading with Flubaroo instead of Google Forms, you can go and watch that video next.